I was going to wait until I had all my channel art ready and some basic framework established before I started making videos. But now that the cat's out of the bag, I suppose I ought to get to some things and get them out of the way while I can early on and get some practice in the process. With that, I think something I'm definitely going to want to discuss is an idea that's come to mind over the past couple months for me that came from an observation of one of our most critically acclaimed American documents, the Declaration of Independence, a wonderful writing piece that, of course, broke us free from the chains of Britain. Though something many people don't observe is the importance of it in establishing our basic tenets of importance in the American culture, in what we value and how we value them, and in what order we do. Case in point, the Preamble. We hold these truths to be self evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, you may observe that and think, well, in that regard, we are to value life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness all as important American values. But what you don't really observe is the fact that it is structured in a way that it shows a hierarchy of orders, of tenets, really, that have different levels of importance. The first tenet, of course, being life. Life is, obviously, the most valued human activity, regards to say. And as a result, we must protect it from the tyranny of other humans. As a result, you may not kill another human because life is the most sacred of tenets. The second tenet, of course, is liberty. Liberty, of course, being something that is integral to American culture as well as to any sort of liberal republic or democracy. And as a result, it has the second most important. You must have your liberties so long as they do not value life. You do not have a liberty to kill because Tenet 1 is above Tenet 2. It is structured in this way, obviously, as the founding fathers decided, to make sure people understand this importance. The third tenet, still important to American values, but is definitely below these other two, and with good reason, is the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness is a very important thing, as we must have our own free will and our exercised rights to live our lives as we see fit in a way that entertains us and is fulfilling. However, we may not do so in a way that violates the lives and liberties of other human beings, and in this instance, fellow Americans. Now, I've set up the basis for this discussion. The idea, of course, is that life is something of important value. We may not allow it to be harmed by other humans. Though some would argue, and allow me to take a side tangent here, that as a result, we must provide health care to our fellow man. In that regard, I'd argue, well then, if liberty is a slightly less important but still important tenet, should we not provide printers and printing presses to every single person so long as they request it for the sole purpose of freedom of the press, an important liberty in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights? To which I do say I doubt there will be a proper response to that, as it does sound ridiculous. And of course, as a result, we must note that the socialized healthcare system is, in its own right, a sort of violation of the fact that we are protecting ourselves from other humans. As, as in, of course, to get said healthcare, you must put a doctor to a gunpoint and say, you have to give healthcare at the wages we tell you because this is the wages we can afford to fund. In a way, you are then robbing the liberties and sovereignty of the doctor and their medical office for the sake of what you claim is human liberty, when in all actuality, what it is human safety, which there is very much a difference. We are protecting ourselves from other humans when we have our own liberties, and we have a right to these liberties and a right to our own life. We cannot snuff each other's life out, we may not restrict each other's liberty. It does not mean that we must inherently fund and force others to take care of the lives of others. Those are the lives of those others that they must have on their own and protect on their own from anything other than human influence. Onward to liberty. The importance of the liberty part of it is natural because in order to have a free society that is properly functioning, you must of course have the freedom. And as a result, liberty is an important tenet and is second to only life. That's really the only kind of limitation I need to really discuss about liberty is It's important so long as you aren't killing others or damaging their property, because many will argue that destruction of property is a reduction of others' lives by humans. And as I've clearly stated, the point of these is, of course, to protect ourselves from the tyranny of other humans. Then, of course, there's the fun little third tenet, the pursuit of happiness. Oftentimes, this has been used in reference to the American dream. We all want to try and become successful capitalistically, and if that's your prerogative, you have a right to. I, for one, think it's a fun thing to do. I, for one, think it's something I may or may not do. The point is that you have the choice. What many people try to do in a more socialistic society where capital is redistributed by force and as a result the meritocratic system is dashed, is that you end up having a lot less effort towards said pursuit of happiness. As a result, not only is a capitalistic system preferable for the attainment of happiness, but it is the only way in which your efforts and your work shows results in the form of capital gain, which you then can use in, say with me now, the pursuit of happiness. See, everything works out in this system. The problem is, of course, is that you have not only the socialistic economic busybodies, who obviously claim that they know where your money should go. They know better than you. And then you also, of course, have social justice warriors and more theocratic forces on the right and more corporate forces on the right that think your money and efforts are their property, not something they barter with you for. All of these four different systems of economic and social moral authority are all very much flawed. They are self-centered and based on what others think is right, and as a result, they are their pursuits of happiness. They have a right to it. Problem is they cannot coerce you or force you to suspend your liberties for what they think is the right thing. As a result, their third tenet, the pursuit of happiness, say telling you that you have to use certain pronouns to describe people based on what they tell you and they order you to do, is a violation of your second tenant rights, your liberties, based on their moral authority and moral busybodying. Our founding fathers knew what they had in mind. What they were stating, of course, is that, well, in the past there had been some disagreements over the moral authority of the country. You had a right to choose what you wanted and how you wanted to do it. And if people were to willingly submit, say, join a church, or another good example is you can't use certain words if you work for a business, is a way of willful suspension of your second tenant for the sake of third based on what you want to do. No human is violating it, you are giving it up yourself as a person. In a sense, it is a natural surrendering of said rights. Now, some might argue that this might just be an ordered list, nothing in particular hierarchical order. Of course, then that would go against every basic convention of writing. And from some of the greatest writers of the time, I would not think that they'd be so simple. Oftentimes, writers put things in certain orders of importance. In this instance, that is very much clear, because naturally, you'd put these in this order based on preceding and following legislation and documentation from our founding fathers on the importance of liberties and life and the pursuit of happiness, all in this certain order. Historically, we've placed liberties as an important factor, though life is still treasured. We do not like wasting American lives, up until recently, but I won't get into my loathing of Obama and Bush. At any rate, what I'm trying to get at is that this is an important thing we must address, especially if you and I, dear listener, are going to have a discussion on the values of Americans, on American culture, which obviously in my earlier video I did very much discuss. If you have any questions, if you have any complaints, do feel free to leave a comment. You could also, perhaps talk to me on Twitter. I'm at Aicen Feir on Twitter. You can find me shitposting or, just having general good fun on there whenever I'm not making videos or spending time with family, doing college work. Depends on whatever is happening that day, I suppose. If you enjoyed my content and might want to hear a little more, please do feel free to subscribe. It'd be pretty great. And also, if you don't mind a little bit of the extra effort, I know a lot of people have been bugging you guys for it lately, but if you could leave a like, that'd be super appreciated. If not, I get that too. I'm the same way sometimes. Well, Ice and Fire signing off, and you folks have a wonderful day.